Hi everyone. This won't be a typical tutorial video. So in this video, I'll be basically sharing a recent incident that took place in my life, right? And that incident kind of made me think that as a software developer, I might get replaced by AI. Okay, but it's been almost over a year that incident took place, right? But still, I'm with software development, and I'm planning to be in this industry as well. At the end, towards the end of this video, I will be showing you a couple of skills, must have skills that you must have as a software developer if you want to at least stay relevant in this AI era, right? So it's kinda non-negotiable. If you do not have those skills that I'll be sharing in a moment after my story, obviously, then it's kind of certain that you will get replaced. Recently, I was working at an organization called Adani AI Labs, and from the name also you can understand like they were working with some AI related stuff, right? They were trying to like come up with their own model and use the AI basically those open source large language models, right, to do some cool stuff. And in the team, in our team, there were mostly data scientists and data engineers, right? And they didn't have many people for application development. So at a time, I was the only developer, application developer in the team. So the context is clear. Now, one day, one of the product manager came to me and with some requirement, and the requirement was they were building a monitoring system for wind turbine plant. Right now, what is a wind turbine plant? So you are familiar with this sort of windmill, right? And inside a site, there can be many windmill when like machines like this, right? And these machines were like there were many kind of IoT sensor that was attached to these machines. Now these IoT sensors were reading different kind of metrics, like at a particular time, what is the wind speed, what is the gear well temperature, maybe how much electricity is being generated, okay, what's the rotation speed, those kind of all those kind of data were collected by these IoT sensors, right? And after collecting the data, these sensors were like writing those data in a centralized database. Okay. Now our requirement was to basically create a monitoring kind of system, right? So that will at a certain interval that monitoring tool will fetch the data from the centralized database, right? And it will do some calculation and it will show the data in a graphical manner so that it makes sense, right? And also it will do some like with the help of AI, it will do some anomaly detection. Okay, like let's say at a particular time, based on the wind speed, you know this mass of electricity has to be generated, right? Now if there is a deviation from that, that's an anomaly. Okay, so AI should find out that anomaly and our application should raise an alarm or maybe send a notification to the ground engineer that hey, there is a problem in this turbine and take a look. Okay, so we were basically building an anomaly detection engine and monitoring dashboard. Okay, so whatever I have explained so far, my project manager was explaining the exact same thing to me. So we were sitting in a conference room and his laptop was connected to the big projector screen while he was explaining everything to me. Okay, so till that point everything was kind of all right, everything was expected. Generally project manager will explain a problem to you and he will give the estimation and then he will get to work. All right, till this point everything is normal. And by the way, all these projects are kind of proof of concept or POC kind of project, right? And the thing is like you have to build a like MVP kind of thing, like minimum working product, right? And then you have to present that product to the client, and if client is happy with that, then you will build the actual product. So time was a very big factor, right? And my project manager was kind of competing with some other project manager, so he had to build the solution as quickly as possible and get the job. So he was like, Shovan, we have to complete this within a week. Okay. But from the explanation, you can also understand that like if you want to create an application like that, even the minimum amount of with the minimum amount of functionality, you need more than 1 week. Okay. So I told him that it's not possible to complete the end-to-end application in 1 week. But he was like, no, it's possible. Okay, because I will give you some source code. I have been already working with this. Okay, and I will help you. So I was completely confused. Like, the project manager, he didn't have any technical background, and he's saying that I will help you. He's not a developer. He's not coming from a development background, right? So I was kind of confused. And then came the most shocking part. As I have already mentioned, like, his laptop was connected to the big large screen, right? So he opened up a website, a very professional looking website, and whatever requirement we were discussing so far, everything was covered in that website. And he was just showing me page by page, and he was like, yeah, we need something like this. We need exactly things like this. And whatever you can see here, these are coming from dummy data. All you have to do is just point this to the actual data. Okay. And it was super professional. Like, for context, if you give me a team of 4 developers, it will take at least 6 to 8 weeks just to build whatever he was showing. And it was coming from my non-technical manager, who has completed this, as he told me, that within couple of hours, with some AI prompt. And then he shared the source code with me over Teams by zipping up the files, right? That he downloaded from that magical tool that he has been using to basically generate this code, right? Then he asked me to connect the application with the real data. And he was like, I believe 90% job is done. Okay, uh, you just have to do the rest 10%. And then he left. And I told him, okay, because I was in total shock, right? So I told him, let me get back to you on this. Let me see. Then he left, and I was just sitting there in that conference room by myself for the next 30 minutes. And I was questioning my entire career choice, right? Like, my skills are completely obsolete. Then I have opened the source code, hoping that the source code will be a mess. But it was like super professional. Like, it's not like some sort of spaghetti code in a single file. Like, all the classes, all the methods, everything was in perfect place, right? Everything was super professional. Like, some senior software developer has written this code. Okay. And inside this zip file, only the front end code was there. But whatever LLM tool, whatever AI tool he was using to generate this kind of front end code, that LLM tool can very easily generate the backend endpoints as well. So yeah, in that manner, he was kind of right. 90% job was kind of done. So while I was sitting there, I gave it a thought, right? Like, why didn't he complete the whole 100%? Why are you asking me for the rest 10%? Right. So for the next couple of days, I thought about it. And the truth is, like, considering the time crunch, if that product manager could do that, could complete that 10%, complete the entire 100% with AI, he would do that. He wouldn't ask me, because he needed the application as soon as possible, right? So for the next couple of days, I gave it a thought. And I kind of came up with some skills that you must have to basically complete this 10%. AI cannot help you with that, right? So I might be completely wrong, but the thing is, see, some of the things will just make sense, right? So this, whatever I have came up with, this is making sense to me. Okay, and you can judge for yourself as well. If it hits your common sense, then you follow my word. If it does not, then you can just skip over, right? So let me discuss about that 10%. So let's say you are building an application, and you need a login page for that, for the authentication, right? Now, if you ask any LLM model to create an authentication page or a login page like this, it will be a piece of cake for that LLM, right? And it will give you the backend route as well. Like, there will be a function that will handle the login, maybe, right? So this sort of thing LLM can do very easily, right? Now let me tell you what AI cannot do for you, right? So it cannot decide, like, for the login, for the authentication, should you follow a JWT JSON Web Token flow or a what flow, or should you skip this authentication part altogether and go with a third party authentication provider maybe, or the page you are building, the website, your app you are building, maybe inside the organization they are already having a sso, you have to hook into that sso. This kind of decision AI cannot take for you. Or in the design, do you at the initial phase, do you have to go with NoSQL or SQL or a hybrid approach, or in case of, let's say, failure, where should we store those kind of logs, right? So this sort of decision, this sort of things AI cannot decide for you. Obviously, if you ask the right question, then AI can help you decide on this. Like, if you know the context, then you can have a conversation, have a chat with the AI, that which sort of database you should use. But you have to ask the right question for that. Like, for example, my non-technical manager in a million years would never ask AI that, in case of failure, which type of log should I store. The second skill you must have is that you have to start thinking like an architect, software architect, right? You cannot just think like a developer. For example, AI is like a calculator. It's just a fancy tool, right? Now, if you have a calculator, that does not mean that you don't need an accountant, right? So AI is kind of having or serving the same similar type of purpose. So for example, let's say you are having a calculator, and you type a very big number, then you put a plus sign, and then you type another very big number, you hit the equal sign, and like that you get the addition, right? Now, that's well and good, everyone can do that, but somehow you have to also know what you are adding, in which context you are adding things, right? That understanding of that context is very necessary. And chartered accountant, the accountant, these people knows what to add, what to subtract, right? They are just doing simple calculation, that's it. Okay, but any random guy cannot, with a calculator, cannot replace them. So similar thing is happening with AI. AI can write very good code, right? But it does not have the domain knowledge. It does not know what to create, which kind of code it has to create. It has the potential, right? If you ask AI to write a Fibonacci calculator, super optimized Fibonacci calculator, it can do that. But you have to understand, like, in which context you are creating a Fibonacci calculator. All right, so that's the thing. The second part is, as we have been discussing so far, key, you have to understand the architecture, and you have to possess the domain knowledge as well, right? And I have been reading a very very nice book called Domain Driven Design. I will put the link in the description. You can go through this book and go through as many software architecture book as you can, right? There are many, like Fundamentals of Architecture, Clean Architecture by Uncle Bob. There are many software architecture book, right? Uh, Try to learn about different pattern, what are microservices, what are monolithic application, what are three-layer structure, what are, how can you vertically separate application, how can you horizontally slice application, where should you, how do you introduce messaging queue, what's a point-to-point network, what's a pipeline structure. These sort of things you have to understand. Okay, it's not enough nowadays, it's not enough just to understand, or just to write a React component maybe, right? If you are only doing that, if you can just only create an Express server that can respond with some JSON data, then you are done. Now you have two options: you can level up yourself, or I would highly encourage, just switch the career. There is nothing for you if you are not upgrading yourself, or if you are not possessing this sort of skills.